Hey, we're going to be talking about some of the types of houses that you should never, ever consider buying and things that we tell some of our clients when they're in the market looking for houses. It's going to be super valuable. Some of the things you'll get nowhere else but here. We can't wait to share it with you. Let's get into it. So number one is a house with water or mold issues. Now, for us in Middle Tennessee, this is something that we talk about all the time because we actually have a lot of different things around stormwater, around storms that come through. And so we start telling our clients, hey, let's make sure that we're prepared for the worst, right? The highest level when you get 3 inches of rain in just a few hours or even more. We had a storm earlier in my career where we had 7 inches in 2 days, each 7 inches in each of 2 days, which caused a really big flood in Middle Tennessee. And that's obviously a big deal for a landlocked state like Tennessee is. And so we talk with our clients. We lived through that. We've been through that, and we help guide them to anticipate some of the potential worsts that might happen while you live and own this property. So water and mold issues. You want to make sure that you don't buy a house that has a lot of water or mold issues. Okay, the second kind of house that you don't want to buy is a house that needs major improvements. So recently we were in the market with a client that was looking at a house and it was a little bit underpriced. They were like, man, this is a deal. And sure enough, we got there and the roof was about 18 years old and it had a 20-year roof. And the central heat and air was 22 years old. And they were going through and they're like, well, so we have that. Oh, and it had all these other things that were starting to pile up. Oh, and we need to pave the driveway, and the driveway was about a quarter of a mile long. And so we started talking with the client about this, and this particular client had some history. They've owned some houses, they've done some improvements, and so to them, they were okay with managing that project. So you want to know if you're dealing with or wanting to buy a finished product, or if you want to end up with a house that has value add opportunity and has all these major mechanicals that are going to start to need improvement. Maybe it needs a whole new kitchen remodel. And if you've done that in the past and have the vendors and know all that and you're comfortable doing that, great. If you've never done it before and it's into a new market, you may consider a finished product house instead of one that you're going to have to do a ton of work to and do that added value. Find and search out the vendors and find and search out the designers. Lots of different things can go there. And again, ultimately can really have a negative impact on your experience and on your goals. And that's when you can really run into some things. So if you have experience with that, or you have a contractor that you have great experience doing that, great. Then it's definitely something you need to do. We guide our clients around that all the time. And some of them say, hey, we're happy to do it. We've got good vendors. We're happy to give you our vendors and guide them through the process. But others just say, you know what? I just don't want to deal with all that. They just don't know. They'd be like, I like that. Let's do it. So that's the buy it now, right? So again, that's another thing to consider. Is something significant on the horizon. If you have that experience, make sure that your professional that's involved has some experience around that if you choose to go on that path. But if nobody does, then you just want to make sure you stay in everyone's strength zone and go ahead and end up with that finished product. Okay, number 3, one that we talk about all the time is making sure that you're not on a major street or near a major intersection. Now, this has been something that's happened in our market a long time and has changed quite a bit over the past 20 years. And it used to be that we would go through a major street, or what we called a double yellow line street, right? That was a hyper local term in our market where you had double yellow lines on the street. You would say, hey, we don't want to be on a street that's double yellow line. It's too busy. Well, over the past 20 years, that's changed a little bit in our market, and each market has its own things. So make sure you're checking in on going, hey, is this a double yellow line street? Tell me about some of the hyper local preferences. And for a while in Middle Tennessee, for sure, people would say, hey, I really don't want to be on a double yellow line. No double yellow, or interstates or pikes or state highways. And the reason for that is ultimately not because you may or may not be comfortable with it. It's ultimately on the back end when you go to sell it. And when you go to sell it, you're going to have more than half of the buyers that won't even go to see it. They'll be like, oh my God, that's a busy road. They won't even come to look at it. Doesn't matter how nice it is. They may not. Now, at the end of the day, somebody will be there. Somebody will live there, and someone will choose, that location for something else. It's super convenient to school, work, church, what have you. It has more square footage than I can buy more here than I can somewhere else because it's on a busy road. There's different things and factors and the non-negotiables in your buying process that will come into it. But ultimately, you want to stay in as much of a market as you possibly can and where you can appeal to as many people, because ultimately that helps you sell more quickly and for top dollar. So think about that. Look and see if you back up to an interstate. Look and see if you actually end up next to a busy road. Now, the double yellow line thing has totally gone away in Nashville, and people still still live and like it because they prefer the convenience. They can live on a double yellow line street and be really close to a lot of attractions for shopping and retail and all those types of things. And so entertainment. And so you just got to weigh that out over time as you go and look in the market. So make sure you're looking for those things. So think about that. Okay, this one's one of my favorites. And the fourth type of house that you should consider not buying when you're on your next opportunity is a flipped house. And it's really going to surprise you as to why. What is a flipped house? Flipped house is a house that probably fell in disrepair or needed significant amount of updates, and someone has come through and decided to make an investment in this property in order to bring it forward, in order to resell it and make a profit. And so the reason for this is actually a couple different things. There can be, and there are, great contractors and great people that are specialized in being good flippers and do high quality renovations and high quality flip product that come to market. However, there are often people that also consider themselves flippers, go out to market and find things and try to cut every corner they possibly can. So, and they're trying to do that primarily for two different reasons. One, they may be inexperienced, and so they're trying to cut corners as much as they can to maximize their profit. And two, to go through and they may have paid too much. They may have paid too much for it, and so they're doing the absolute best they can to get out of things. So how do you tell? You want to make sure that you go through, and if you see something that doesn't look normal, right? If you go through a house and you're like, that countertop is just a little bit undersized, or maybe it's a material that you commonly don't see, that it's a butcher block countertop, in an area where quartz and granite is more common, or you see that the cabinets don't have pulls, and more times than not they do, and they don't have the slow close on the cabinets and the slow close on the drawers. That can be a place. Those are $35 per door and per drawer. So that's a place you can get into things, but you just never know. But the trick here is if you can go in and you can feel it from your viewing and see it with your eyes, that's a tip that you may not want to buy that house, because if you can see those things, you may be pivoting to what else, right? Did they do all the structural right? Did they do all the insulation right? Did they do all the electrical right? Did they do all of the roofing right, or the crawl space just right? Those are the kinds of things that you may not see. They may have covered up in order to go ahead and maximize. So again, I don't think there's anybody that's out there deviantly trying to do things here yet. They may just have an experience, and they may ultimately be looking for their focus and their goal of using cheaper products to bring it forward, but also, for their goal of maximizing their profits. So if you find one that's great, always make sure you go through, and this is something we talk about with our clients, you want to make sure that you go through and do a home inspection. Under no circumstances in any market do we ever advise a client of not doing a home inspection in any market. Now, you may say, hey, we're going to do a home inspection, but it'll be a pass-fail home inspection. I know it's competitive. I know the market is still really strong across the country, and we've still got places where we've got to really be creative. And if you want some of those, drop us a DM. We'll be happy to share some time with you and tell you how you can be creative and competitive in the market. Also, we can introduce you to some of our friends and partners across the country that can show you how to do that. But we know some of those things that'll be just as valuable. I would say it's not necessarily a seller expectation that they waive the inspection. They just want to know that they've got a good deal and it's going to go ahead and close. So you can still get the benefit of that without being surprised. And you really want someone who does that all the time, looking at some of the mechanicals, because it can really mess up your goals and surprise you with some major improvements, which was house number 3 that we went through. So like you say, if you find a flip, let's just make sure that it is done in the best quality way, or at least the quality way that you were expecting and up to market. And if you have to make improvements, just make sure you have the budget and the capacity to be able to do it and to manage that renovation going forward. Okay, the last type of house that we're going to share that you should never consider buying is a house with structural issues. Now, let me tell you a little secret that you probably won't get anywhere else. And I've said to you before on this video, and I absolutely tell clients this all the time. There is nothing that we come across that we can't fix in houses, right? They were built to begin with. At this point in our career, we've fixed and dealt with just about every type of issue that we've already discussed today. And just know that if there is a structural issue, you can absolutely solve and remedy those things. It just takes dollars, but you've got to plan for those dollars, because if you don't plan for those dollars, that's where it can get you out of balance and outside of your goals and really mess up the process and the end goal around the house. So if a house comes across and has structural issues. Here's our secret. About 1 out of 3 houses that we sell gets recommended to have a structural inspection. And that's part of the contingencies, and it's pretty common. As I said, 1 out of 3. That's pretty frequently. And out of those, most commonly, everything is still in good order and still, just needs to be maintained or looked after. Now, occasionally, out of those 1 out of 3, I would say 1 out of 20 of the 3 that get elevated into needing a structural inspection has a structural issue. Now, not a major structural issue, but a structural issue. So what are structural issues? When you go through a house, people commonly, when we're working with buyers and sellers, we go through a house and we see, hey, there's a hairline crack here, right? There's a crack in the drywall or a crack at one of the seams, in the ceiling along the roof line where things really get hot and get really, really hot and really, really cold. They expand and contract and have a significant temperature differential. And that's the kind of thing that just happens, right? That's really a cosmetic type of crack. Then there's another type of crack that we see more commonly on the exterior of the houses. That's a stair step crack. And you may have seen this in the brick where it is stair stepped, around mortar joints. Now that's a shift, right? That's happening on solid and strong, masonry materials, right? And so over time, for various reasons, things shift. The world is constantly moving, right? We're moving right now. And so as we move, sometimes things shift. So there's just different levels of repair and maintenance that you do on those types of things. And then there's another type of structural repair where you see more of a vertical structural shift. And those are the kinds that you see on the exterior that especially go through foundation blocks, bricks, or actual bricks on the side of the house. And that's a little bit more significant of a structural shift. So as you can see, there's a lot of scope in and around structural, but you want to see that if there's been some structural repairs, that a qualified structural professional has done it and an independent structural engineer has looked at it and said it was good. Now, you could do that either way. You could do the engineer first, says this is how you do it, then you have a different contractor go and do it, or vice versa. There's lots of different parts there, or they can have a contractor do the work and then have an engineer come in and look at it. So we have those people. I'm sure your trusted professional in your market will be happy and helpful in guiding you through that, should that be 1 out of the 3 that comes up. And then just don't buy a house that has any structural issues. If you do have some experience, it may be an opportunity for you to go through and keep moving towards the house that you already liked to begin with. So what have you experienced when you've been buying a house? What happened to you? So let me know if I missed one. I'm sure I did, and would love to hear from you. Give us a little bit of help there and let us know which one we missed. Tell me which one you liked the most. That would also help by dropping us a comment there. And so listen, if you've enjoyed some of the things we've had to share and the tips and values that we've been able to give and that we are giving our clients here and across the country, please help us out, subscribe and like. And if you're looking for an opportunity here in Middle Tennessee and need us or our other vendor introductions, you can follow that. Go ahead and go to that link. That'll be able to help you get connected to us, or you can actually tell us what market you're looking in and we can actually help connect you to one of our partners in one of our referral markets across the country and the world for that matter. So
we thank you for being here with us today.
I hope you found great value. Look forward to seeing you. We love sharing great content like this, but we depend on you to help us find our next client that we can help here in Middle Tennessee. So thanks so much. Please share this with somebody that's going to buy or sell in Middle Tennessee in the next 12 months. That helps us stay right here and doing great content just like this. Until we connect again, my name is Alex Brandaw, and I'm your friend in real estate in Nashville. And until we connect again, keep on keeping on. We'll see you soon.